Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. And you are so welcome to this meeting today. So this is our second full moon in Cancer, and it's a beautiful full moon today. So actually it's tomorrow, the exact moment of the full moon. So I would like to welcome Philip, that on behalf of the Aquarian Wisdom Retreat Association is going to lead this meditation, and afterwards is doing a webinar and presentation regarding the full moon and Cancer and his newsletter, and so many subjects that are important for the time being. So very welcome, Philip, and here you have.
Thanks very much, Natalia. How's my sound and my video?
Your sound is perfect and video is fine too.
I still am having problems. Can you see my share screen?
Yes, we can see
okay.
the newsletter screen so perfectly.
Yeah, I'm not quite getting all the details I normally get on this with the Zoom. Anyway, I'll blunder on regardless. Welcome everyone, and just to mention a couple of things before we go into the meditation. I'm going to, of course, comment upon a few sections of the newsletter. This Cancer Blue Moon, the second Cancer full moon, Cancer Capricorn full moon for this month, for the month of Cancer, is going to really amplify those forces, obviously, and I'll discuss that more later. So we'll comment on the Cancer Blue Moon itself, and then the power of Sirius during Cancer. The fixed star Sirius, which I've talked about a lot, of course, and which is essentially the higher self of this solar system as a whole. And so during your meditation, you may want to reflect upon not only Cancer, Capricorn, but those two signs being a gateway for the influence of Sirius to pour through. So we'll talk about that, and also we'll talk about some of the Spanish mystics, St. John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila, later on. So having said that, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and reshare another page, which is the meditation, which most of you are familiar with. You can follow it on the screen, or you can just close your eyes and listen. Now, is that page showing up there? I'm getting a little box coming up here saying something.
Yes, there's a little box, but it's there's a little box on top of the page, but we can see the page. You can see the meditation text, so you can go ahead. Good.
Okay, friends, let's settle ourselves and take a long, deep breath. Releasing all the tension and activity of the day so far. Entering into that quiet space that we share with thousands of others meditating around the world at this moment. Approaching the full moon in about 12 hours' time. And so we sound the Om 3 times to settle and align the personality, the 3 vehicles, personality, mental, emotional, and physical. Visualizing light flooding through those vehicles, bringing them into alignment with one another. We see the personality now aligned, integrated as a sphere of light, gradually moving towards a brighter sphere of light, which is the soul. We see these two spheres of light blend and merge into a greater light of soul personality fusion. And so we become aware of all the other souls meditating with us today, here in this meeting and elsewhere, the many groups and individuals celebrating this great festival of Cancer. We visualize the planet surrounded by a lattice work of lighted triangles joined together. The developing etheric body of the planet. We become aware of the 5 planetary centers as points of greater light dotted around the globe. London, Geneva, Darjeeling, Tokyo, New York, through which we will send energy later on in the meditation. Stage 1, group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the new group of world servers, mediating between hierarchy and humanity. And so we sound the formula for group integration. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Stage 2, alignment. We project a line of lighted energy towards the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart center, the great ashram of Sanat Kumara, and towards the Christ at the heart of hierarchy. Then we extend this line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. Stage 3, higher interlude. We hold the contemplative mind open to the extraplanetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated through hierarchy. Using the creative imagination, endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and interplay. And we also are aware of ourselves as members of the new group of world servers mediating between hierarchy and humanity. Stage 4, meditation. We reflect upon the seed thought for Cancer. I build a lighted house and therein dwell. I build a lighted house and therein dwell. Stage 5, precipitation. Using the creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. We use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation: Shambhala, hierarchy, the Christ, the new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. So we visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet, becoming anchored on Earth. Let us spend a couple of minutes doing this. Stage 6, lower interlude. Let us refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram, and together sound the affirmation: in the center of all love I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow released from Shambhala through the hierarchy and streaming into humanity through the prepared channel. And reflect upon how these inpouring energies are establishing the pathway of light for the coming world teacher, the Christ. So we visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow pouring through Shambhala hierarchy into humanity through the prepared channel. Stage 7, distribution. As we sound the great invocation, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy pouring through the 5 planetary centers: New York, London, Geneva, Darjeeling, Tokyo. Just ask you to make sure your audio is muted, please, participants. Thanks. So let us sound the great invocation, bearing in mind this visualization. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. 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 Restore the plan on earth. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this regular service activity as we enter the age of Aquarius. It's all about learning to work, cooperate in the greater group process, is it not? So I'm not sure whether you can see my screen now. You can see my newsletter screen page now?
We can, Philip.
Can or cannot?
We can, yes, positive.
Okay, very good.
There's a rectangle, a gray rectangle on top of it, but I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, just some
Okay.
strange glitches today with Mercury square Uranus, basically.
Go ahead then.
It's a bit like Mercury retrograde. I think I'll be able to fix it up. Just a moment. No, there we go. There we go. I think that's better. Is that better?
It's still there.
Hmm.
But now, yes, but now we can see the title of newsletter at least. Yeah,
All right. But the grey bar is still there.
it is. It is.
All right. We press on regardless. I build a lighted house and therein dwell, the keynote of Cancer. Of course, that lighted house is the causal body, the egg, if you like, of the soul, that the soul inhabits and builds over many, many lifetimes. And we therein dwell eventually, permanently. And so I want to just read this little quote out at the beginning of the newsletter. When the individual person enters upon their cycle of incarnations and emerges in the sign Cancer, which is found on the cardinal cross, he metaphorically mounts the mutable cross, and their long term of imprisonment in form begins, and the lessons of servitude must be learned. They go on learning until they have transformed servitude into service. They alternate between the pairs of opposites, both from the astral emotional angle and from the point of view of the forearms of the mutable cross. We could probably spend an hour just analyzing that statement, such as the depth of some of DK's multi-layered instructions. But I think you get the gist of it. Cancer is the doorway into incarnation, and Capricorn, the opposite sign, is the doorway out of incarnation. It's a sign of death. One of the four signs of death, zodiacally speaking. We have Pisces, Capricorn, Scorpio, and Aries, in fact. There's the four signs of death for various reasons, as I've said in my many newsletters. So this is a unique opportunity, the second full moon of Cancer, or Cancer Capricorn. A lot of people call it the Capricorn full moon, and that is technically correct. But as I always emphasize, we're celebrating a solar festival. So it's a Cancer full moon festival or period. The full moon chart sees the sun in the last degree of Cancer in exact trine formation to Neptune in the last degree of Pisces. Indeed, there are quite a few astrological formations. Neptune, the god of the waters, is the exoteric ruler of Pisces, the fishes, where it's placed now, and the esoteric ruler. I meant to say esoteric, but I've got a typo there. It says exoteric ruler, esoteric ruler of Cancer, the crab, both signs symbolized by sea creatures. Mental note to correct that little typo. The crab symbolizes imprisonment, the hard shell and rocks under which the crab ever takes shelter, and the fish signifies freedom. Of course, freedom can be attained under both sides, and initiation, of course, which we're going to touch upon today later on. Water is a symbol of the astral plane, and Neptune rules the solar plexus center, astral body, emotional body. Hence, the Sun trine Neptune aspect can be highly inspirational, intuitive, imaginative, and visionary. And on the shadow side, it can lend itself to self or other deception, illusion, mass glamour, addiction, etc. And we've seen a lot of that around in the last few years, have we not? Since at least 2016, since Neptune has been in Pisces. Point of least resistance is the shadow side of Neptune for the masses. And also, of course, Cancer, which Neptune rules esoterically, is a sign of the masses, of mass consciousness. So we can look at the zodiac progression with Leo following Cancer. So the mass consciousness emerges into individual consciousness. And that's what's occurring in a big way as we move into the Aquarian cycle. Many people are waking up and they're invoking the Aquarian polarity of, which is Leo, and becoming more independent individual thinkers. Of course, there's a lot of baggage or glamour that goes with that as well. But these are all necessary stages of unfoldment, evolution. So the power of Sirius through Cancer. Cancer Capricorn axis is also a double doorway for forces from Sirius. Cancer is a water sign closely associated with the feeling nature, whilst Capricorn is an earthy sign related to the capacity for thought, as it is ruled by Saturn, the ruler of the throat chakra, or the gateway to the mental body as such. Hence, these polar opposite signs, Mother Cancer and Father Capricorn, are involved in a divine marriage that births or brings through the force of Sirius, Sirius being the sun, the SON, as it were, or the progeny, in some respects, of Cancer Capricorn, mother and father. And so we have this quote that I repeat every year of Cancer Capricorn, Saturn being the, down here you can see the Cancer, Capricorn, Sirius in the middle there, Saturn transmitting the Sirian force into the solar system. Of course, this Sirian force comes through Venus as well. And there are, in fact, 7 zodiac signs where the Sirian force passes through, which I've written about. You can find various commentaries on my website. So this quote here, Cancer Capricorn Saturn, which are the expression of Sirian energy, enable the aspirant to tread the path of purification of probation. These are the first stages of entering the path consciously around the first initiation. And a huge, I think, population of the planet at the moment are entering into this stage now. The reversal of the wheel and the taking of the first initiation. It's really been going on for about a century, since the beginning of World War I last century. The door has been opened. They pour through the hierarchy upon the mass of men and enable the unit in that mass to isolate himself and turn his back upon the past and find his way on that section, onto that section of the path wherein he learns to feel. So again, we have this Cancerian sense of the term, to feel, the sensitivity in the astral body, the feeling nature, but also in a higher sense related to the intuition or buddhi, which bypasses the mental plane and expresses itself through the purified emotional body. This is what we call astral buddhic, as I also discuss later on in this newsletter when discussing the Spanish mystics. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat as we go, friends, and I'll address them as I see them. Any questions or clarifications? So our sun, or solar logos, annually marks the 4 cardinal points of Cancer Capricorn, Aries Libra, which are the solstices and the equinoxes. Hence, the sun acts as an intermediary for the forces of Sirius. Our solar system is the progeny of Sirius. And as I said before, Sirius is the higher self or soul to this solar system, broadly speaking. Hence, on Earth's lesser cycles throughout the year, we acknowledge these higher correspondences of Earth's alignment with the solar system to the solar logos and to the Sirian law of karma. Of course, Saturn is one of the 4 lords of karma inside the solar system. is the ruler of Capricorn, serving as this intermediary or proxy for Sirius, for the distribution of karma in our solar system. Excuse me. This is a huge subject, mind-boggling actually, because the Great White Lodge on Sirius has its earthly reflection in the Masters of Wisdom of the hierarchy on this planet. So, of course, I'm going to skip this article on Julian Assange. Many of you have been following that for the last 10 years. I've been writing about him. Finally, been released recently. And so we come to this subject of St. John of the Cross, which I became more interested in recently in my travels through Spain when I went to Avila in, where is it? Northwest of Madrid, roughly speaking, and for which the Saint Teresa of Avila took her name. You can see her picture here. Undoubtedly an advanced disciple, or both of them were advanced disciples in the Christian Catholic tradition, in particular the Carmelite tradition that Teresa of Avila was a reformer of, but which was, of course, composed of many nuns, but also male, the male equivalent throughout Spain, throughout Europe, actually. But Spain was a major center for that because of the fact, partly because Spain is a sixth ray soul, and the sixth ray had its major incarnation concurrent with the age of Pisces in the last 2,000 years. And it's now fading out as the seventh ray comes in, but its influence is still strong. Got a question in the chat here. Whoops, something happened then. Monk, thank you, Michael. A bit of memory loss there. Now, the picture seems to have shrunk here. I'm just going to see if I can fix that. Going back to that grey bar. Here we go. No, I have to go back to the page. No, just a minute. How is the picture now? Is it visible?
Yeah, the page, yes, it's on with concerning the Cancer sign and Teresa of Avila. That's what we are seeing right now.
Thank you. I don't know I don't have the normal control that I have on this this opening of the Zoom account today for some strange reason. Anyway, St. John of the Cross, who wrote The Dark Night of the Soul, in which that phrase has been used for centuries, of course, in everyone's personal lives. We all have a dark night of the soul or two in one lifetime or another. And of course, he was born with the sun in Cancer. And in 1542, he was a Spanish Catholic priest, mystic, and Carmelite friar. That was the word I was looking for before, too. He is a major figure of the Counter-Reformation in Spain, one of the 37 doctors of the Church. John of the Cross is known for his mystical writings. He was mentored by and corresponded with the older Carmelite Teresa of Avila. Both his poetry and his studies on the development of the soul, particularly his Nostra Obscura or Dark Night, are considered the summit of mystical Spanish literature and among the greatest works of all Spanish literature. That's quite a statement. I don't know whether anyone has read any of his writings. I've hardly read any myself, but I've scanned through a few of his books. So, as I said, I became more aware because years ago when I used to run esoteric bookstores, we sold Dark Night of the Soul in the store and several writings of other Christian saints. Hildegard of Bingen I mentioned here. There's a newsletter I have about this German mystic, musician, incredible initiate actually. She may have been even more advanced than Teresa and St. John of the Soul. But Teresa worked closely with St. John of the Cross, and whilst I was visiting Avila, it was noted that transiting Neptune was conjunct Teresa's Venus in Pisces. We have her chart, and we actually have a time for her chart, but we don't have a horoscope, an accurate time for St. John of the Cross. So I only speculate in this article what he might have been. He could have been Virgo rising, in fact. But they had a lot of synastry between them, which I think was due to their karmic link, most likely karmic. Her moon in Virgo was conjunct John's Jupiter, and her Saturn in Sagittarius was conjunct John's moon. The moon represents the past connections, and I'm pretty sure that they had both been following a similar path along the mystical line for several incarnations, and probably knew each other not just in one life, but maybe a few. And this is the way it goes for many soul groups, of course. Probably both six-ray souls incarnate in a six-ray soul country. Yeah. Of course, we know the shadow of the six-ray was the Spanish Inquisition. The zealousness that was, any soul ray energy can be distorted, just as any personality ray energy can be distorted. So just because it's a soul ray doesn't mean that it's pure and unaffected. So we saw that Spanish Inquisition for several centuries, in fact, throughout Europe. There was, of course, other countries like Italy that were involved in the practice of Inquisition, where we had the crystallized church patriarchy, essentially, out of control. So I mentioned that I've had contact with at least 3 people who identify themselves as having a past life as Teresa. And I've heard this for many years about other particular famous figures in history. And I would say most of them are probably incorrect in their assumption of that insight, but or that identification. But it is something that is not uncommon, because people aspire to be like these beings. Plus, I also say in the newsletter that they may have been part of that circle of thousands of people, in fact, who are involved with this Reformation in Spain. Maybe even tens of thousands of people, but may have been participated in being members of these nunneries and monasteries and so forth. So quite easy to identify like that. And these are some of the glamours of the path of between the first and second degree initiations. The second degree being the where the complete control of the astral body is finally demonstrated, which includes surmounting many glamours that can feed spiritual pride, thinking that one perhaps was Saint Teresa of Avila or John of the Cross. But of course, a very tiny percentage of those people would be correct. They may have actually been those individuals. Or Cleopatra, for instance, as I also mentioned just down here. Thousands of Cleopatras out there on the astral plane that people can identify with. She herself, of course, was an initiate. Extraordinary lifetime if you read about Cleopatra's life. All right. So the very interesting core of this article is about Christian mystics and the path to Sirius. Are we still okay with the picture and audio?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, perfect.
Just read to you this amazing passage from Cosmic Fire by Alice Bailey, Treatise on Cosmic Fire. Path 4, the path to Sirius. Now, just as an aside, this is the main path that all humanity will tread, that most of humanity will tread once they've liberated themselves after the fourth degree initiation. They will choose the path to Sirius, which is a new evolution all over again. Yeah, Michael's saying audio is best. It's been for some months now. It's because I've got new audio system, headphones and mic and a better camera and hopefully a better internet connection. But every time I go to the chat, my screen shrinks. I'm not sure whether that's shrunk for everyone else, but I have to reset it. There we go.
No, it doesn't. It's okay.
Okay. Oh, it does for me. So, yeah, so the fourth path out of 7 cosmic paths, we all graduates, if you like, of the Earth have a choice in going to. But the majority, the bulk of us will return to Sirius. In a sense, our causal bodies that were created at individualization 21 million years ago have got a touch of this Sirian substance within them. Something to think about because of the great alignment between Sirius and the Earth at individualization in ancient Lemuria. Anyway, the initiates who tread this way, this is the path that the Lords of Compassion most frequently follow, and at this time the Egyptian Master and the Master Jesus are preparing themselves to tread it. Now these two masters, of course, Master Serapis and Master Jesus, are the Shohans or custodians of the 4th and 6th rays, respectively. So they're getting up into the much higher initiations now, beyond the 6th initiation. Got to be at least a 6th degree initiate to be a Shohan. The mystics of the Occident, mainly Christians, who have come into incarnation during the past 1,000 years, are a peculiar group of egos or souls whose impulse is towards this type of cosmic energy. In this system, they have developed certain basic recognitions, and the ecstasy of the Occidental mystic is the germ latent within him, which will someday flower forth to that cosmic rapture for which we have as yet no name. Cosmic rapture and rhythmic bliss are a form of identification which is divorced from consciousness altogether. They are called the blissful dancing points of fanatical devotion. Of course, fanaticism is one of the glamours or shadow expressions of the 6th ray, and hence the Inquisition and so forth. This fanaticism or fundamentalism is essentially an emotional adherence to ideas that creates a distorted idealism. Master Jesus is the Shohan of the 6th ray, which is the soul ray of Spain, etc., etc. I mentioned before. When this inspiration is contacted, it finds its point of least resistance within the astral body, bypassing the mental plane. In occultism, these kind of people are referred to as astral Buddhic. Excuse me, can
Sorry,
you turn
Heidi.
your audio off?
Heidi.
Can you just mute yourself there, Heidi?
Philip, I'm not logged on through the associations, but you can mute Heidi yourself.
Heidi, can you hear me? Can you mute yourself?
Or you can go.
I can do it, yeah. Okay.
You can do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't.
I think, as I said, I've got this strange thing going on with my toolbar here. And I can't. Oh, there we go. Yep. Muted. Very good. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind just putting questions or comments in the chat rather than just jumping in with your audio, that would be handy. Thanks. Right. Find this page again. Here we go. So as I was saying, this astral Buddhic energy is very strong with these mystics, but these Spanish saints were no intellectual slouches either. They were authors of many, many writings, which are still studied today. So the second degree initiation is wherein the intelligent thinking man, whether disciple or well-meaning aspirant or an initiate of the first and second degrees, has to learn to distinguish between the truth and the truths, between knowledge and wisdom, between reality and illusion. When this stage has been passed through, it leads to the third initiation, wherein the personality, which is prone to maya, glamour, and illusion, stands free. The second degree initiation is where most aspirants and disciples find themselves on the path today. This is my commentary now. The lives prior to the second degree initiation and also including it are related to the unfoldment of the heart and mystical awareness. This latter phase particularly incorporates lifetimes in the arts and music, but is not confined to it. For example, it is quite possible that Julian Assange, working in media and technology, took the second degree initiation in this life, maybe even on his way to higher initiations. His 12 years of incarceration, particularly the last several years in prison, has a parallel to St. John of the Cross's prison experience and the persecution that both endured by various governing bodies of their times. Another Christian story concerns the second degree initiate and mystic Nicodemus. We're told this in the teachings, who had various interactions with Master Jesus in that lifetime, the Jesus lifetime. And the Tibetan says, esoteric students, disciples, and the initiates of lower degree are developing contact with the soul, or the second aspect, love, wisdom. And only when this contact is firmly established can the higher concept be entertained. The nature of spirit is dealt with in the New Testament in one of the esoteric statements addressed by the great Lord to the initiate Nicodemus. When he says great Lord here, he's talking about the Christ actually working through the Master Jesus in the last 3 years of his life. As he was an initiate of the second degree, it may be supposed that he had some glimmering of understanding as to the meaning of the words which were spoken to him as part of his training in preparation for the third initiation. And of course, the words are, the wind, prana or spirit, bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh nor whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Very quaint old language there. So just briefly, John of the Cross horoscope, you can go in, some of you have already read this, but if you haven't, there it all is. I discuss various patterns in his chart. For instance, there's a grand trine in water signs, which was shared by the French mystic and doctor Nostradamus, Michel Nostradamus. Always a strong symbol of someone who is highly clairvoyant, intuitive, and so forth. And then I discuss a little bit about Dark Night of the Soul, have a quote from that writing, but it's not all of it, but you can click on the link down here to read the rest. We'll just read that first verse. On a dark night inflamed by love longing, oh exquisite risk, undetected I slipped away, my house at last grown still. Secure in the darkness, I climbed the secret ladder in disguise. Oh exquisite risk, concealed by the darkness, my house at last grown still. So we could analyze this esoterically. What is the house? Is it the lighted house where when one dwells, the Cancer keynote? What is that secret ladder? Is that the Antakarana from the personality to the soul? And so forth. Very deep mystical reflecting and pondering that one can get into there. And you can probably download all this stuff for free off the internet, or the book itself in PDF or something like that. So I talk about his term of imprisonment because we have these exact dates, which is just gold for an astrologer to look at the progressions and transits to what was going on at the time. And there was a hell of a lot going on, as I discuss in this latter part of the article in his progressions and transits chart. Transiting Saturn, for instance, the Lord of Karma in Capricorn, its own sign, opposite his sun in Cancer. Well, you know, that's only a transit that you get every 30 years, so it's pretty significant with regard to having a very restraining influence upon the vitality of the sun. Saturn here can be seen as the jailer. Transiting Neptune square the sun. Jupiter in Libra square the sun in Cancer. Transiting Venus, Mars and Scorpio square to progress sun in Leo, which represents the authority, his spiritual authority and power at that time, but also being challenged by the other authorities or the authoritarian church. Transiting Neptune conjunct the sun in Cancer. So all these transits were to his Cancer sun, and then he became imprisoned. And we know the rest of that quote. Is it a lighted house that you are building, or is it a dark prison? So he was in prison for about 9 months, I believe, and he escaped and never went back to prison, I believe, after that. His work expanded, and he traveled a lot around Spain and contributed to many different endeavors. So that is pretty much all I want to say there. There's, of course, the other articles about geoengineering and in the newsletter, plus also, of course, an analysis of the Trump shooting and many of the events that are still unfolding around that, of course. So, are there any questions or comments before we wrap it up for today, for this month, so to speak? Tina says, my inclination in this time has to do with Spain and the sixth ray. What about the same comparison with Hernan Cortez and the Mexican king Montezuma? It is 500 years from now and from the past. Very good point, Tina. I considered that closely when I was traveling through South America, through Peru, Bolivia, places like that. And I went to the museum of and tomb of that other inquisitor, the Spanish inquisitor. What was his name? It wasn't Cortez, but it was a guy about the same kind of vintage as Cortez. Michael says, any thoughts concerning a second Cancer full moon at this time? Well, just basically what I said in the newsletter, that the amplification of not only the energy of Cancer Capricorn, but of course the opening up of the gateway to Sirius, and also because it precedes very closely the Leo full moon in 4 weeks' time, which we are told will be the main sign that celebrates the invocation of Sirian energy. It will be the main festival, one of the main festivals of the year in the Aquarian age, that's consciously about invoking the Sirian forces. That's just my brief response to your question there. Teresa says, any comments on the Microsoft outage As I said in my brief post on Facebook, its Mercury is slowing down and going into its shadow phase, squaring Uranus, which of course rules technology. Mercury retrograde rules delays, and in fact, in the newsletter, no, did I say it in the newsletter? No, I don't think I did. I did. I said it in a post, in a Facebook post or something like that, that Mercury will go retrograde, so its square to Uranus will continue on and off to the first 10 days of September. And this Mercury, transiting Mercury squaring Uranus, will be exact in the next day or two, in fact, on the 24th, which spans this full moon period. So it ain't over till it's over in this short term cycle, but also in the longer term cycle through to September. And of course, as I also mentioned in my Facebook post, groups like the WEF were saying that there will be a major internet disruption crash before 2025. And this could be the start of it. There could be the testing of the waters, so to speak, by those groups. Let's see what unfolds. All right, then I will wrap it up then, friends, and see you next month. And I'll stop sharing the screen and resume the music. So thanks very much all for coming and sharing with the meditation. See you soon.
Thanks, Philip. Thanks, everybody. See you in 1 month's time.